Hey guys.
There you are.
Hey,
You okay?
Yeah, just finished making a coffee, went down to the office, and then realized that the laptop I brought was not the laptop I used to record on. So yeah, and then I had to reset up everything, but I'm good now. I'll be good, man. Come on now. Craig beat me in.
oh yeah,
Craig did beat you in. by a
Craig
good
been here since 11.
15 minutes, my guy.
It's lacking, man. Usually.
Audacity been sitting here recording me and Cameron talk about nothing.
Nice.
Except for how we're trying to, make sure we have the information for tonight's episode. Today was day 2 of Linktober. I didn't do quite as good as I did on day 1.
I saw your day 1 post. Because I'm a day 1.
That's what I'm saying. Day 1 did well. Day 2,
You a day oneer,
not
bro?
so hot. But y'all be on the lookout for that day 3, though.
Oh, shoot.
ain't nobody gonna see this until it's you'll be listening to this on what day 9 of Linktober. So forget about day 3. For you, it'll be day 9.
And then the other podcast won't come out until the end of Linktober.
Yeah, we got one more Linktober release time. Yeah, it's fun. I think I got the first 20 days all drawn up already. So it's just a matter of scheduling them.
But to you day oneers, we got you.
Day 1
Welcome
was
to the
my boy
day
Bruce from over at the East Wind. My dude slinging produce for the right price. That's why they call him Bruce.
Oh no.
It's all good. Man, all right, you guys ready to talk about a water temple though? What episode is this?
Wait. There was a temple in this playthrough? Huh? Do we play the same thing?
It was kind of like a palace.
I mean,
Episode
your palace and my palace are
63.
different palaces.
Episode 63 is Anthony's intro.
Get your palace out of here, man.
Welcome to the A4NB4Y podcast, the Zelda-themed podcast where we go chapter by chapter through Zelda games. We are on TOTK, and this is episode Yes. And last episode, we kind of just chilled out, had some adventure in, did some walkthroughs with the Koroks, and this episode, we are going to be greeted by the most heinous of villains, Dio, and his muddy waters of doom. And my co-hosts are here, as always.
You may have thought this was Ryan Fonzie, but it's me, Dio. Your co-host.
Well,
I can't beat you up if I'm all the way over here. And I'm Cameron Hagee, a used toothpick.
I mean, but like that could be, two things. Like you could be a used toothpick from like, a dentist who's probably got some nice teeth, or you could be a used toothpick from like someone who just ate at like McDonald's.
Yeah, you might have been like nicely used, is what Anthony's trying to say. I mean,
It doesn't matter, man. I was used and now I'm thrown away.
You'll never be the same.
Nah, you're recycled. Don't worry.
I've been contaminated. Oh, I've been recycled? Oh,
Yeah, you being recycled, man.
I'm
you
going to
got
be a
another
new
life.
toothpick. I got a new pick in me, man.
I don't know if we can do a new toothpick. We might be able to turn you into a pulp, get you on some nice paper.
Oh, man.
Or a balsa wood project,
I want to
This
hold up a
is balsa
toothpick.
recycle. I thought balsa was a type of tree.
I want to hold up a popsicle.
We get the balsa toothpicks.
Some balsa.
Yeah, that would be super useful.
super lightweight, really high strength to volume ratio.
I didn't know my teeth could get splinters until I tried these toothpicks.
It is like trying to pick your teeth with styrofoam. Don't worry about it. Okay, we got like an episode 2, I think, to record. If we're done with toothpick talk.
I mean, I'm good.
Welcome to A4NB4Y for toothpick.
No.
All right, so guys, let's talk about the Zora real quick.
My favorite domain so far.
Let's talk about the lead up to the Zora real quick, because like,
How did you guys get there?
oh, I went up the main path. I wanted to see what was different.
Would the main path be the path that like you took in BOTW?
Yeah, that's where I was just going to. Yeah, because aside from a couple new caves, it's dead in comparison to Breath of the Wild. Like, it's all about the caves. If you don't go in a cave and you just walk up the path, you're gonna see just about nothing on your way up.
What about you, Cameron? How'd you get there? Oh,
I just flew on down off Death Mountain. I mean, obviously not literally the whole way, but like that was the path.
Just flew in from Death Mountain, and boy, are my arms tired.
Yeah, I gotta hold that paraglider, man. You know how much food I had to ingest on this trip without my hands? What?
Stamina potions hanging out your mouth.
Yeah, I got them built
no.
into my teeth. I just kind of, and then stamina potion. Hey,
Yeah, it's just like when you had to catch that horse. Same deal. Just
pretty
strap
much.
in, man.
That's one of the superpowers of Link, though, is that no matter what he's doing or how busy his entire body could be, he can still eat an 8-course meal and drink 3 potions in the blink of an eye.
Yo, okay. Anthony, how did you get up here?
I think I went like a very different route. So I went to, I think it was the north. It was the South Akala. Yeah, I think it was like either the Akala Highlands Tower or one of the towers like near Zora's domain, like north of it. It was sort of close, but sort of far away. And I went to the tower, and there was a Zora on the bottom of it who was just like drowning in sludge. It looked like a scene straight out of Super Mario Sunshine. And that was like my introduction to it. Was I don't remember who the Zora was. He was like
Was
one
he
of
a
the
guard?
like, yeah, he was one of like the high military captains. Like not like a
Hey,
nameless guard, but he
I
was
found
like,
that guy too.
yeah, I forgot his name, but he was like one of the high captains.
He was right outside of a shrine. That's why I found him, because I was going to the shrine.
Oh, okay.
I may have seen that Zora on the way. I think, was he at the base of everything, or was he?
No, he was definitely like near a shrine or a Skyview tower.
I remember him being near something. I just don't remember it being like up by the domain. Like, I thought it was kind of far away from the domain.
It was, yeah. It was like
Yeah.
sort of far. I don't remember where exactly he was, but that was like my introduction to it, and
Yeah.
I just was like straight up like, this is Super Mario Sunshine.
Pretty much. I think there is a tower in the area that, you know, for the maps and all that. And if you jump out of that, you can pretty much just fly right to the domain from there. If I'm not mistaken, it's close enough where you can just skip a whole bunch by doing that.
Mm.
But I think one of the things that I did notice is that they changed all of the lore, like the history stones. Like, I know there was like a set of 11 of them, right, in Breath of the Wild that you could go through and get all these different stories. They've all been rewritten, and I think they were rewritten by Sidon, if I'm not mistaken. And I did not read them. I read like maybe 3 or 4 of them, and instead of going on the Easter egg hunt and trying to get them all for you guys, I just didn't. So if you are interested in knowing what's on there, if there's anything cool, maybe we can revisit that some other time. I wouldn't even know how to find it, honestly. One of the drawbacks of discussing a game this recent is that even the wikis don't have information like that on them quite yet.
Yeah.
I mean, I could try to find it and see what comes up, but yeah.
Yeah, I think I read a few, and I don't honestly remember much of what they said. I actually took like a southern. I want to take like a southern route. I went across the mountains of like where that Lionel used to be, and then I went into the reservoir lake, and there was like a pretty interesting quest there at some point. The dude with the blue rocks. If you guys did that quest,
Nah.
I
the
did
blue
do the quest
stone.
with the blue rocks. Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely like at the docks to the reservoir lake, and there was like I want to say it was one of the more known Zoras from the last game. He was like one of the guys with the name, and I can't remember which one it was, but he wanted like a blue stone or something and to repair Mifa's statue, which we haven't talked about yet, but that's a thing. That's a whole thing. That's a whole new thing.
Yeah. And we will talk about it for sure. I mean that because the quest that you're talking about, I believe, takes place where Varuto used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the
Um,
reservoir.
which is, yeah, it's nearby, and I think it's actually included in the rest of the story we're telling. Um, but yeah, I mean, I remember the history goes that all of Zora's domain was originally carved out of one big piece of stone or something like that.
Shoot.
So when they ever make repairs, they have to have a matching material, and so this guy's looking for this special blue rock that's like super heavy and durable, and asks if you can go get one for him.
So a
So you have to,
sapphire.
yeah. Well, no, it's actually just a rock.
Oh,
That
in the
happens to
world, you
be
got to
blue.
grab it.
Yeah, you got to go into a cave and find it and attach it to
Uh-huh.
your boat and hope that your boat can still float with the blue rock on it and get you
Yeah.
back out. The whole thing.
Nice.
And that's actually
Yeah.
like once I did that quest, I like led up into pretty sure that's what got me into the domain, and man, them waters be looking like Lake Erie over here.
Yeah, when it turns over for sure. It's just it's just mad grody.
Yeah, Zora's domain of sewage at the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah, even the water you can swim in just looks bad. As for the Zora themselves, I mean they're a lot nicer to you in this game because they remember the last game, which is interesting. Most places we go, people don't seem to remember anything, but I guess it's a little bit more important that the Zora remember you well.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
most of them don't really have much to offer you right now. They might tell you a little bit about what's going on, how they're all struggling with the water and whatever. More side quests open up as you complete what we're doing this episode. But that's kind of consistent across the board too. So one thing of note though is this new character, right? I know we all know where we're going here.
Yoda!
Lady Yona,
Yoda!
who has the most clear vocal barks of any character in the game. You'll click A to move from one block of text to the next, and you'll just hear a very clear, like crystal clear, yes, like just randomly, which
Mm-hmm.
for me was jarring. I was like, what is this character? Like nobody else talks like this in all of Hyrule. I think maybe Pura used to do that, or who am I thinking of? Who lives in Kakariko, the chief of
Imp.
Kakariko. No, not Impa.
Imp.
Impa's
Impa's daughter, or granddaughter, or whatever.
Yeah.
Paya. There it is. Paya.
It'd be easy to remember like
Named after
papaya.
named after papaya.
Or pious.
They're all fruits in Kakariko. I don't remember if that was the one who actually does that, but there's like one other character who does that kind of thing. But most of them just give you their regular like, you don't hear distinct words like that for the most part.
I didn't even notice.
Didn't even notice. It was like playing Dragon Quest for a second. I was like, wait a minute, which game am I in right now? One other thing about Yona, I mean, we're going to talk about Yona quite a bit this episode, spoiler.
Yes.
But one other overarching thing that I just want to say before we get into the details of the conversations, I didn't know how to read her as a character at first. Like she tells you who she is and what she's about, but her character design is very sharp and pointy. She has like snake eyes, with that kind of are diamond shaped, like they point at the front and the back. She's got 2 horns coming off of her head with like a crescent moon crown on the back. And even like on the front, she has like a fake collar that's actually jewelry, as well as on her wrists. I only need to say this because I'm actually looking at a picture of her right now. But
She's
like,
also super bright light green.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, she looks like a manta ray, right? Like her head is like a ray. She's kind of like the king's attendant from Breath of the Wild. But I say that to say that when you are designing characters, having things that are pointy or sharp tend to signal a dangerous character. And it got me because I was like, I think she might be the bad guy of this area. Like, when I first met her, I was like, something's off about this. I just had suspicions. I was wrong. Spoiler again. I was wrong. There's nothing to be afraid of. She's fine. But when I first was talking to her, she's like, "Oh, yo, I'm Sidon's fiance or whatever." I'm like, okay. Like, also I look like this. I'm like, are you the bad guy? Like, are you the problem? Are you
Yeah,
causing all
she's
this?
supposed to be like manta ray, like, and I see exactly what they were going with the horns, as manta rays sort of have like antenna that protrude. Different species have like those antenna that protrude from their head right where her horns would be. But I agree with you. Like, they should have just stuck with like rounder manta ray appendages.
Yeah. Rounder signifies like a safe character or a comfort character, which would have been perfect for Yona because that's what they were trying to do.
Nah, she just comes in hard and strong. It's just like, I'm ready.
I was a tad bit sus of her. Just I was a little more specious instead of like looking at her design. I was like, I remember the manta ray from the last game being a pain in my butt. How are you gonna be a pain in my butt? But she was not a pain in the butt.
No, not at all. So yeah, she does introduce herself. She is Sidon's fiance, apparently. If you talk to the other people around town, you'll find out that she is a selfless and compassionate Zora princess, perfect for Prince Sidon.
My
Wow.
thing is like, you know, where was she 7 years ago? Like,
Training deep in the mountains.
Yeah, she's just meditation and hard training daily.
That's how she got all pointy, man.
maybe she was like an ocean Zora.
Those points didn't make themselves, man.
Yeah, I don't know. Some other well, I shouldn't say some other. The Book of Medora podcast had some things to say about this in terms of confirming like another group of Zora somewhere else in the world.
Mm.
I'm not really sure I want to go all deep into that right now.
Yeah.
But clearly she wasn't there 7 years ago, and who knows? Who knows where she was? Maybe there are other kingdoms of Zora. We can't even get off the edges of our map, so what do we know?
Right? We wouldn't be able to meet him anyways.
Yeah.
But as we're heading up to the main middle part of the Zora's domain, you know, to check out what all this sludge stuff is about, that's when we see a dirty statue and this Yona standing in front of it, and that's where we run into her.
Yeah, so that dirty statue, let's talk about that for a second, because, like, here I am being like, yo, how come you let my girl Mifa get all dirty like that? I'm gonna clean this off since y'all won't do it. So I pulled out, like, a hydrant. I sprayed down the statue. Turns out it wasn't Mifa anymore. And I got real worried. I was like, where did you put that statue of Mifa? Because this is ridiculous. What you find instead is a statue of Link riding on the back of Sidon, going through the water as like an homage to their attack on Varuto back in the day.
Commemorated.
I loved it.
Yeah, I saw it and I just nodded. I was like, yeah. And then I went on my way.
I thought it was. I had mixed feelings because at one side I was like, yeah, I mean it's a cool statue, but also though, like you all had a beloved princess who died fighting the calamity. Like, where did that statue go? Like, what did you do? And it's not until a little bit later that gets resolved. And then I was like, yeah, that's fine. That works.
You about to throw hands real quick with the king.
I was upset.
Like, yo, Link wouldn't have been able to do what he did if he didn't have the armor that she made. What are you doing with her?
The absolute disrespect.
That's right. Really. Exactly.
Just like my mistrust for Yona, I also had mistrust in the Zora as a people in that moment.
Man, distrust running everywhere. Yeah. Must be why those waters are so murky and dirty.
Emotions running high, man.
We
see through the murky waters at this point.
Nice. So once we clean off the statue, Yona tells us that there's a problem. And if we've been paying attention up until this point, we see the problem. There is slime and gunk everywhere, and it's covering stuff, and their lives are miserable because of it. The water looks poopy, and it's just bad. And she tells us we need to go find Prince Sidon up on Mount Ploymus, and figure out what's going on. And also, she's going to go heal people in the room right over there. Come talk to her as well.
Yeah, don't we gotta, like, get armor or something, too? Or is that later?
Yeah, if we go back and talk to her immediately after she tells us to go find Prince Sidon, she'll tell us that she has the armor and she wants to give it to us, but it needs to be repaired and we need an ancient arowana, although they're ancient and they haven't been around there in a long time, so she has no idea where we're going to get it. Probably our inventory.
It's kind of funny that would be, like, the thing to repair it, because so Mipha made the armor when there weren't any ancient arowana around.
Yes.
And as far as we know, the only, like, real important thing about this armor is that it has one scale from her on it somewhere. This is like never mentioned in this game. She is the ancient arowana. Get out of here. No. And then so she's like, "Oh, you're gonna need that." I'm like, "How do you know about ancient arowana?" This was like another part where I was like, "Are you the bad guy? Like, how would anyone know about these ancient arowana?"
Yeah, it definitely struck me as weird too.
It might just be like a Zora, like, family, technique. How, like, Link has the spin move. I don't know.
Yeah, but they haven't been around there in so long. How would their craftsmen have been able to work with them? How would they know the quality of the fish to apply it to repairing things if there haven't been any around in a really long time? How did she even pull that one out of her head?
This is my thing. All right. So the ancient arowanas can be found on Sky Islands only. So my thing is maybe, like, once a millennia or something, like, the ancient arowana have this, like, tradition where they just, like, throw one of themselves, like, off the side of a great Sky Island and they fall into Zora's domain, and that's how.
Excuse me.
Yeah, you got me. I don't know.
I'm sorry. The ancient arowana have a tradition, you're saying,
where they yeet themselves off of their own islands, one of them at a time, just for funsies.
This
I like it.
Like maybe an evil prank that one ancient evil arowana played on another ancient arowana. It was like, "Yo, Jerry, remember that tradition that we had where one of us yeets themselves? I think it should be you this year."
Yeah. Oh no. It's like their version of the lottery from that movie.
Yeah. So I don't know.
You've been voted off the island.
How in tarnation Mipha got an ancient arowana other than it falling off of one of the Sky Islands, but that's the thing.
I don't think the original clothing. I don't think the chest armor involves ancient arowanas at all. I feel like this must be some crazy thing from way back in the day. Zoras are like, way back before these random parts of the world just disappeared, because I don't know how else the Sky Islands got there and the Zora could somehow know about them. That there was this amazing ancient fish and she remembers this. And then since all these sky things are here and Link is like the guy that does everything, she's like, I'm just going to tell him to get me one of those because he probably can. And I want to see it.
Oh, this is like just equal trade value kind of thing for her. She's like, I want that fish. It's not about actually repairing the armor. I don't need it to repair the armor, but I'm gonna tell him that I need it so that he'll bring me one because I just want one. In the meantime, I already repaired the armor. That's no big deal.
Well, yeah, that, or there was something about it being like really good at, like, the scales are so hard or something. They're the best at repairing armor. So she's like, I want to try to use one of those, and just takes advantage of Link for being the guy that can go anywhere and do anything.
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know how else she knows about him. and would need one since they obviously haven't had him in forever. It's such a strange thing to ask for.
I'm gonna chalk this one up to Vigigames.
Yeah, no, this is definitely Vigigames. We're just trying to put logic behind the Vigigames.
All right, that's 1 point for Vigigames tonight. I'll probably keep score if I can.
And so we get it repaired, and we have our Zora armor, which does the same thing it did in the first game. I don't remember if you swim a little faster or not while you're wearing it, but you can climb waterfalls.
Yeah, I think they all give like some kind of mild swim speed up, and this one has the special effect of jumping up a waterfall. Which used to be Mifa's thing.
It's true.
If anybody cared.
No, they don't even have her statue anymore.
Or so we think.
Until we go to Mount Ploymus.
Yeah, go to Mount Ploymus.
Which I really liked.
Sidon's up there doing his human Brita feature.
My God.
He
Oh no.
Standing there.
That's an accurate description. That's a too accurate description.
just like the King Zora used to do back in Ocarina of Time.
Nah. Sidon's not a Brita. He's better than that. He's a Berkley.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He's purifying even the fluoride out of that stuff.
That's what I need.
Beep. Editor Mike here, just stepping in to mention that when we say Berkley in this episode, what we're actually referring to is a Berkey water filtration system, a little bit higher end than your common Brita filter. We make this mistake several times throughout the episode. And instead of fixing it, we decided to just make this note. A side note is that Berkley is actually a brand of fishing equipment. So there's that. Anyway, back to the show. Beep. He's a whole water treatment plant, man. But yeah,
So,
he's busy. It's basically what he tells us. He's like, yeah, Link, I'm glad you're here. I'd love to chat. But listen, I gotta see the Merc. I gotta unmerc the Merc as best I can. This is my role now. I've planted myself here and I can't move.
It did feel validating though that he called us his best friend.
Yeah, he makes mention of that a few times.
He's still a bro.
Yeah.
He might be busy, but he's still a bro.
The game really wants to stress, like, hey, he is engaged, but he hasn't like forgotten about you. Like, you guys still have your friendship. Don't worry about that. Even Yona has got an earful of it, and she'll tell you straight up, like, oh yeah, he can't stop talking about how good of friends you two are.
Aw.
Yeah.
Such a good bromance. And we get there, and obviously he brings attention to the fact that all this junk is falling out of the sky and that he's filtering it up. And then he points us in a direction, I think it was northwest, to go find his, what was it, the guard that he told to go research these things, whose name is Giotto.
Yeah, Giotto's over at Toto.
Yeah, Toto Lake.
Toto Lake. Yeah, but real quick, before we do that, just want to make mention.
Statue.
Yeah, the statue. This is Mifa's court, newly appointed Mifa's court. And if you go up to the top where you used to be able to do wicked dives into the reservoir, Mifa's statue has actually been placed up there, up on the mountain overlooking the reservoir, which feels fine. Like that seems like a good place for it. Like they gave her a whole court of her own up there on the mountain overlooking Zora's domain. So
they say if you stick your head in the water as Sidon is purifying it, you can hear her gavel swinging.
Excuse She didn't use a gavel.
It's her court, though.
It's her court. I know.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay.
So off we go to Toto to find Giotto.
And we get ourselves a wonderful riddle of sorts.
We do. We find him confuddled, trying to figure out how to read this tablet that's had just the giant middle of it ripped out and thrown like 20 feet. And so we got to clean it off and stick it back on there. He's like, oh my gosh, it's been repaired. This is amazing. And he reads it for us, and it says, stand upon the land of the skyfish and behold its lofty view. Among the floating rocks you see, a droplet waits for you. Through this droplet, shoot an arrow with the mark of the king. Do this task, and you shall reveal a most wondrous thing. See the watery bridge's resting spot with your own 2 eyes, that which connects the Zora to the people of the skies.
Yeah.
So when I first heard that, I sort of knew what I had to do and what I was looking for, but had no clue where to start looking for that.
I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it.
Oh gosh, not Star Wars.
So, yeah, I forget who we have to talk to actually find who we're looking for.
I believe we go back to Sidon, and then he tells us to talk to the king, although the king hopefully should be back by now because he was out.
Yeah.
And when we go to check on the king, we end up finding 3 little Zoras, 3 children, in the throne room playing a game that they dubbed King Zora. And if you listen in, they kind of sound like they know where he is, but then immediately shoo you away as soon as they realize that you're there. And they actually have like 5 different little parts of the game they can play because I went in there a bunch of times just to keep hearing it until it started recycling.
Yeah.
So that was nice. Then there's a lady standing right outside of it, a lady Zora, don't know her name. She tells you that, oh man, I tried to listen in on those kids and they just keep telling me to go away. If only there was a place I could be where they wouldn't see me and I could hear them.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, because you have to like ascend up from beneath, right? To
I
get
just-
into that little pool.
I didn't
That's
even
what
do
I
that.
did.
I went in the center because you had to go up a little ways before it would trigger the scene with them. And then I just walked around in a circle in plain view of them, hopped in the water and swam right up and listened.
Oh, there you go.
It's
I
like
think I
Linker
went straight up
Cell over there.
outside and did that way.
Oh, no.
But yeah, they give you the clue that there's somewhere between Polymus Mountain and the domain that there's a waterfall that's flowing clean, which is suspicious because most of the water's
none
not.
of them clean.
I had a little bit of a hard time finding this, but I think it's because there's actually other caves hiding behind waterfalls too. So I definitely went through a couple of these caves before I found the right one. Like there's the Polymus Mountain Cave. Like I went all up in there before going over to the pristine sanctum.
So I actually talked to someone. I don't remember who it was. Because listen, it's been a while. But there was I want to say it was a juvenile Zora, was saying that there's a cave up on a waterfall that like he couldn't get to because he's not powerful enough to swim up that yet. That was like clean. And so I was like, So I just figured like the only waterfall like nearest to the domain was the Mikau waterfall to the Lulu waterfall. I just like follow that and follow the clean water. There is like kind of like a clean water like discharge that you can kind of follow.
Oh,
I just teleported to the top of the mountain and checked behind every waterfall on the way down, and I think it was the one at the very bottom, so I wasted maximum amount of time.
nice.
And it's kind of a pain in the butt when you get in there too. I mean, I guess you could build a little something with a balloon on it, or you could use like a rocket shield, but I ended up climbing up the side of the wet cave and slipping constantly. I really didn't have the best time of it, and then after I got up there, I thought I could have just used a rocket.
Yeah, I'll tell you, man. I don't remember how I did it because I don't remember what the interior looked like all that much, but I do remember finding King Dorfin.
Yes.
And he was not looking his best that day.
No.
He got an oof.
Yeah. I found it really interesting that he had this very vulnerable conversation with Link about how like he's like, man, maybe I should think about succession and let the prince be the king, basically. He's like, hey, I think it's about time I hand off the domain. I'm getting kind of old for this.
It's just foreshadowing.
What caught me off guard was when you first arrive. I don't know his right-hand man's name, but it's the Stingray dude.
Yeah.
What is his name? Do you guys know? All right, let's just call him Cranky.
All right.
I like it.
So Cranky Zora, you get there and he's like, "Oh, Link, is that you?" And then like they both kind of were like, "Oh, it's you." It's like that's not. Wait a minute, like I know what you're here for, and we learn that Zelda, or as we've come to find out, that there's all these like instances where Zelda just keeps appearing and reappearing and telling people things across Hyrule, that Zelda had come and basically fought with King Dorephan and had something summoned to fight him with, I believe he said.
He has a slime monster.
Yeah. So it's kind of a little foreshadowing as well, I think. And then he just was not in it. And he was like, we were attacked by Zelda. How can I trust you? And I was sort of kind of just chalking it up to like, dude, I saved your kingdom like 6-7 years ago with Sidon. I literally have my statue in the plaza. Like, why are you treating me like this? But then I sort of thought, like, it's kind of like validated if they think that actual Zelda attacked them. It's like an attack from the kingdom. I can kind of see where like that'd be validated behavior, and I felt like less mad about him treating me like that.
Yeah, and there's also the fact that if you didn't help Zora's domain, it would have flooded literally all of Hyrule and killed everybody. So Link could have just helped them on the prospect of, I don't want everybody else to die. So theoretically, it's possible Link did it without their like best intention or their best interests in mind, even though it happened to be the same thing anyways.
Did they
If you wanted
outright
to dig even deeper.
say that it was Zelda, or did they have any kind of suspicion that it might be something that just looked like Zelda?
No, it was 100% Zelda. I mean, Link has a statement. I think he said like it couldn't have been Zelda, and then King Dorephan, they were saying like, I don't see how it couldn't be. It looked like her. So I don't know.
Huh.
Yeah,
Interesting.
they're
what I
pretty
got.
convinced it was Zelda.
Okay. I just know the game's been trying really hard to keep it ambiguous. Like, it's always supposed to be some kind of mystery wrapped around situations with Zelda.
This
So
was the first one, I think. They were like, was it Muzu? Is it Muzu? Muzu's coming to me. Is it Muzu?
Muzu sounds right.
Yeah, Muzu. I don't know why that just randomly like popped in my brain. Muzu was like pretty darn convinced that Zelda attacked the king with a slime monster, like Cameron said.
Huh.
And it was kind of like, oh, but like, not really though. And then they were like, why should we believe you?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, because I'm cool. I'm Sidon's best friend.
Yeah, come on, man.
Yeah.
I'm here to
basically,
fight Dio.
working independent of Zelda. I'm trying to find it right now.
And then Link, I guess, kind of makes mention of the riddle, and the king says, "Oh, you need scales for this riddle?" He's like, "Oh, I got tons of them." Basically, he says there's something that nobody really wants. I got a ton of them. Here's 5. If you need more, come on back. There's like they mean nothing to me. So apparently, if you just shot them all,
system,
right? If you just went outside and shot off all 5 of his scales and came back in 5 minutes, you'd be like, "Yeah, here's some more."
Yeah.
How'd those scales work out? They were really pretty when you shot them into nothing. Yeah, all right, cool. But yeah, you get these scales with the mark. You only need one.
Yep.
You only need one of them.
So in case you really mess up.
Yeah, in case you're not a great shot, he gives you 5. But then the next bit is we need to find our way up to a skyfish, the land of the skyfish, which you might guess you can find on your map is a floating island that looks like a fish.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's called Floating Scales Island.
Crazy.
This place comes up in like 2 or 3 other side quests after this as well, which is wild because there's just a bunch of stuff hidden up there that I'm pretty sure a lot of it you can't even access until you've gotten the side mission. So you get a side quest, you come up here, something new will be happening. It'll be great. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually went to Mifa Court to see Sidon and like kind of tell him about his dad and like that whole conversation, and he was kind of worried, but then was like, nah, I have to focus here still. But then he was like, I wonder like where that could be or what that is. And then like as I was talking to him, since the Mifa Court cliff literally faces the Floating Scales Island, I saw it and was like, I'm dumb.
Right.
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah.
It's the backdrop while he's talking to you. If you have your screen rotated right.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and there is a waterfall that you can shoot up to get onto it too, just to make things a little easier for you.
Yeah, without needing any contraptions or rockets.
Yeah, this will be a theme as we go through this next section.
When we get on up there, we can check it out, and I mean, there's nothing jumping out at you as, what did it say? You're looking for through this droplet. If you're just running around the island, you're going to see one section that has a bunch of glowing green floating rocks, but from almost any angle, it's just a bunch of random green floating rocks. But if you go over to them and get up on the right piece of the terrain, those floating rocks line up perfectly into a water droplet.
Yeah. So if you pull out your glider and then go into slow-mo, you can make sure to hit at least one of your 5 shots.
Whoa.
It's really hard to hit that not moving droplet.
That's genius. I didn't even do that. I shot off the side of it like a savage.
Wow. Did you get the right height?
I did. It was
Nice.
it's not even that far. Like I think you aim like in the center of the droplet and your arrow is gonna just connect anyway.
Yeah, pretty much. It was
And then,
not a hard task.
No.
And we go into a cutscene of our arrow all shiny with the Scale of the King on it, flying through there, down into the reservoir, and then like this green light just starts coming up out of the water.
Yeah,
And we have completed our task.
we have. But that little green light coming out of the water isn't going to do anything for us unless we go get our friend.
That's right.
Yeah.
We need our bestie.
Besto friendo.
So I think as we come back off of this, we try to go talk to Sidon, and I'm pretty sure we get attacked. As if-
We notice that Yona is also there now.
Yes.
And then right after we start a conversation,
Yeah.
the
It's
dreaded
almost-
slime-like.
Almost as if the slime saw us activate the green light and was triggered to come try to stop us. The slime comes out of nowhere, and it's up to you and Sidon to save the day.
He's quite big compared to most likes,
Yeah.
from what I remember.
And from what I also remember, this is like the mini boss to teach us how to use this new sage ability. But that might be getting ahead of the story, but who cares? That kind of is what it is. Sidon has an ability where we can tap the infamous A button to get a bubble of water around Link. The purest kind of water, straight out of the, not Brita, whatever Anthony
Berkley.
said.
Berkley
Straight out-
water.
Straight out the Berkley. We got that Berkley bubble. And
We at Berkeley University.
it acts as a shield for one hit, or if you use an attack, it'll send a big splash of water straight at whatever it is you're attacking.
It's a horizontal slash of water.
Yeah, which for a slime is like pretty much game over. Like that's just ruin their whole career with that move.
Yep. He's going to shoot slime out at you. You're just going to knock it off him, shoot his bubble, and then you know what to do.
Yeah. He is a slime after all. He's got that weak spot and all that.
And then he drops a bad weapon. Who would have thought?
What weapon did he drop?
I don't know, it was like some 15 or 20 damage weapon when I'm sitting here with 60s in my inventory. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, I think it was a soldier claymore.
Okay. Yeah, if it was just a soldier claymore, then that's nothing. If it was a Zora weapon, I was gonna say, they double in their power when they're wet. So
Which,
if
you
you're
know,
using
I
Sidon's
didn't know,
ability a
yeah.
lot, that
I didn't even
makes
think
sense.
about that, how to get it wet until, just now. I'm like, oh yeah, Sidon literally surrounds you in water. So
Yeah.
now that makes a lot more sense.
Or if you're in a rainstorm, it's like the perfect weapon.
Yeah.
Oh.
there's so many good ways to get that buff. Some people just hit themselves with a splash fruit and just go.
Oh, does that work?
It does. I mean, I think in this game you stay wet for longer than you did in Breath of the Wild, specifically for this mechanic. So yeah,
Just attach the wet fruit right onto the end of it, hit the first time and splash, and then go to town.
yeah.
We defeat it.
So we beat the slime yeah. You guys have this moment of talking about how you guys work together so well as a team, just like, back in the day.
Best of friend.
And Sidon is thinking that maybe he should go back to his duties as a water filter. And Yona's like, how about you help your friend, And he's like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just, I think I gotta, prioritize my priorities. And she's like, no, this is your priority. And then she kind of gets in his face in a way that I really appreciated, because Sidon needs someone who's gonna make him better, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And Yona's like, listen, you have not been yourself, and I think you are afraid. Like, you have not been talking about your fear of ending up like your sister. Like, you think that you're going to end up getting killed in action, basically, and you're going to leave a family behind. And that is not, like, that fear is keeping you from being the prince that you need to be.
I thought it was that he was worried about losing Yona and losing another person close to him.
Yeah,
Not-
I mean,
I think
essentially
it's
both.
the same both ways, yeah. Because I think like she says that, but it's like because he's like, I need to be here to protect you and like keep the domain safe. But at the same time, he's worried that if he goes off and tries to be the hero, and something happens to him, like he's going to be letting down all of the Zora that way. Like either way, I'm pretty sure he's afraid of something bad happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like immediately Sidon's like, you're right.
Yeah.
I haven't been talking about my emotions. Like I've been trying to keep it all hidden away inside. But I have been afraid, and like so basically he just instant repentance, man. Like he just immediately is like, yeah, you know what?
Epiphany.
Like
Yona's got that talk no jutsu.
that what she got.
Yeah, that's what she got.
And then he immediately goes back into being the Sidon we know and love. He's like, yeah, you know what? I got this. Throws his thumb up, teeth shine. He's like, I'll meet you in the reservoir.
Yeah. I did want to talk about it a little bit, not too much because we already mentioned what it was. It's very straightforward, right? I feel like this was something where the writers had an idea of something that would be meaningful and would like include a lesson about not giving into fear, but living your best life and being able to be a bold, useful person. Like to be able to give in that way to the people around you. But instead, it was so fast paced that it's like breakneck speed, you know, like it was just like, here's this concept, moving on. Yeah. Like guys. Like the most important conversation of this whole chapter, and you all breezed past it like it was a joke.
I can just imagine sportscasters like, he's crippled by fear and he's over it.
Right.
Like that fast.
Exactly. So I was a little bit upset about that because I wanted it to be more of like either for that to play out over the course of the whole story or for it to be a longer conversation, I guess. Either way, it just felt rushed.
Like maybe for her to tell him like he has to go help you, but he does, but he's like not really feeling it until like the end. He sort of gets his like mojo back like towards the end of, you know, this chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah, later on he could stop and tell Link, you know, I've been thinking that maybe I was holding on to some fear that was holding me back, and I'm glad I went when she told me, kind of thing. They could have dragged it out a little farther into the story instead of just bam, over it, never going to talk about this again.
Bad writing.
Yeah.
And personally, the place that we go next, just bad writing. Bad writing all around, man.
What do you
You
mean?
talking about the ancient Zora waterworks?
Yeah. So like Sidon helps you to, I don't know, doesn't he like use his like mojo powers to like
My
create
dude.
like a whirlpool?
He swims in a
Yeah.
circle real fast, like a kid in a swimming pool that's having fun.
Yeah. He's playing whirlpool in the reservoir, man.
Yeah, this dude, he's got major powers. So he creates a whirlpool and tells you to go down and like do your thing. And when you get down there, it's like giant like steam pipe room that you have to unclog pipes to make sure the water reservoir water that's backed up, which is the clean water, like filters out the dirty water, and you got to break the rocks that have been put there. And this entire sequence reminded me of the water temple in Ocarina of Time, as well as some parts of the Skyward Sword water, the Buddhist temple. I forgot the name of it. And
The ancient cistern.
Ancient Cistern, yeah. And it just like, there was the parts of it, it was just like sort of annoying. Like I would have to like fall and then like go back all the way up and then like go back to the top. And then like there was parts where you had to like fall back into the water and like go back around, or maybe I just wasn't doing it right. But
I think
Yeah, I don't think you were doing it right.
I don't think you were feeling it. Is what happened.
I wasn't feeling it.
Because, like, I'm not gonna lie. When I got to this part, I mean, listen, was Sidon's Will It Blend game kind of cheesy? Yeah, it was, but it's fine. He rocketed around in a circle. But once I was down in here, seeing the ancient Zora waterworks and all of the, I don't even know if this is like Zonai mixed or if it's purely Zora, but I thought this was a gorgeous set piece. Like, I got in here and I was like, whoa, like,
No, the
these are
set
some
piece
cool
was
looking
cool for
ruins.
sure, but
I was just excited to be in the room, you know? And the puzzle, the hardest part of it ended up being just like, you go in this pipe and you ascend to the other pipe. And that was like kind of it. Other than that, everything was pretty straightforward.
And if you just kind of went in a counterclockwise circle from the right starting point, you could just hit all of them as you were going.
Yeah, it was a very quick puzzle.
Yeah.
And it did call back to Ocarina of Time, like raising the water level and stuff like that.
yeah.
Ultimately, though, I kind of just felt like this part was kind of unnecessary.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, it was cool, but I feel like they could have just made the waterfall start when you shot, because that's what happens when you raise the water level, you go to a Zonai piece in the middle, which is why it probably was part Zonai, because there is a Zonai, the fate, the thingy you touch with your hand that activates and goes all green, a pedestal, and then that's what starts the waterfall. But I feel like when you shot the arrow through the droplet shaped rocks up on the fish island, it could have just done that. Like, this part just didn't really feel necessary. Sidon didn't talk about there being any kind of waterworks down there. Nobody that I've noticed has like mentioned the fact that this is even there. It's like they just threw it in there to add a little more time to this particular part of the quest. It was cool and I kind of enjoyed it, but it just felt completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
My take on this, I mean, this is like a big picture statement that I'm about to make here. But we haven't gotten there yet, but the actual temple at the end of all of this is really short. And I know that we're going to discuss that when we get there. But to make up for that, or at least, I guess, as a counterpoint to that, it's got the longest workup to a temple of any of the four.
It
Mhm.
did.
And I think that's kind of why the temple was as short as it was. Like, I think everything was made to be like one big continuous story. Like, it wasn't really focused on the temple as much as the other ones were. I think it's just more like, hey, let's do a lot of build up. Let's do a lot of pre-work to figure out this mystery before you end up going to the sky. Which I don't think is a terrible decision, but it is a confusing one because you don't really realize that's happening until you look back on it. So I think that's why this place existed, is to extend the phenomena story overall. That's why I called it an odyssey when we started the episode, because I'm like, it's kind of what this is. We just kind of go from place to place. We don't have a huge focal point, at least not
I also
for the first
think
mile.
they might have wanted to do like a Ocarina of Time sort of like callback with the Zoras, because didn't the Zoras like control the water levels and the water supplies in that Hyrule? So I think they maybe wanted to like sort of bring that back, like, hey, look, the Zoras are controlling the water here too. In fact, they have a reservoir with pipes.
Yeah, I mean
They do.
that's always been one of the from Ocarina of Time, that was their thing. They controlled the waterways, or made sure that they were clean. If you go to the water temple, you can change the level of the water, but not for everything, just for the temple itself. Which I think this was. I mean, honestly, I think this ancient Zora waterworks was just supposed to be like the water temple ruins, basically, from Ocarina of Time, but they didn't call it that. But architecturally, a giant pillar in the middle of the room with pipes and channels on the sides is very much water temple.
Yeah,
That is true.
So I think that this room was that kind of callback. You're right.
No dark lunker here, though.
No dark
no,
bunker.
no.
And then we successfully turn on the waterfall to get us up to Wellspring Island, the next part of our Odyssal journey here, if that's a word. And so when we leave, Sidon says, well, let's get up there, because the waterfall just started. He shoots on up ahead of you and you follow. And now you're in the sky after you climb this one very fast. I feel like the time to get up any waterfall is almost the same. And just based on how big the waterfall is, you go up faster. maybe except for the ones that are actually up in Wellspring Island. But I noticed, I was like, is this going to take me 5 minutes to climb this waterfall? Because these are some of the highest sky islands that I've seen in this game so far, unless you count the top of the diving challenges. And no, he skyrockets right up there. He's probably climbing them things at 100 miles an hour. Just I thought that was entertaining.
So after Link recovers from the bends, he can
Not just the bends, man. The whole Wellspring Island has less gravity. So it's one of those lower gravity islands. So just imagine like Link is just like flooping up this waterfall at top speed, and then all of a sudden like he's like you're subject to like normal gravity. Imagine like Mach speeding a waterfall at 9.8 meters a second of gravity pulling you down, and then all of a sudden just going into a zone of light feeling, and then you're just like
it's like it's like living the life of an ancient arowana in reverse.
You swimming upstream. These are the ancient salmons now, not the ancient arowanas.
There you
Link
go.
is a salmon.
Link is a salmon. That's going to be our episode title. And so, Wellspring Island. It's more than one. It's more than one island, guys. It's a whole complex of islands. I don't even know what to say about this zone. This is where the water bubbles play a big part. They were in the trailers that made everybody confused. Like, why is Link jumping into a bubble? Turns out that only happens in a select few places, and this is one of them.
The best thing you can do is attach a bubble to yourself, like at your weapon, and then you can just use that. And it's magical. And you can also use that on like a Zora weapon too.
I had a foam block and a foam ball, basically. I don't know if they're actually supposed to be foam, but from one of the there's a buoyancy shrine out in the flatlands, like it's like one of the wetlands nearby, like the ones that you used to use to get to the entryway up to Zora's domain. Out in those wetlands, I believe there's a shrine that's about the power of buoyancy. And in there, you get these super buoyant Zonai items, and one of them is just a big rectangle plank, and one is a big ball. And I attached one to a bubble, and the whole bubble turned so that the buoyant thing was on top, and then it would rise super fast when that happened. So the physics of the game kind of broke a little bit.
Yeah, they did.
And it wasn't 100%. It only happened like half the time you tried to do it. It was very confusing. Helpful in a couple situations, but for the most part, I just found other ways to traverse these islands. I got to a point where I was like, yeah, bubbles are nice, but I'm just going to get out my bike and just fly up these islands. I'm done.
There's actually a few puzzles on the island that, I don't know, maybe you skipped them if you took a bike, but there's a few puzzles to sort of like gap the distances between some of the islands to like you can like jump in the water bubbles and like ride them as they drive out, and there's some shrines that have those as well.
Yeah.
Isn't there big cube monsters here, right?
There is. There's a flux, what's it call it?
Capacitor.
3
Construct.
Yeah, flux construct.
And it's got a sage's will.
Yeah, dude.
Dum, dum, dum.
I have no idea. Speaking of Sage's Wills, I'm pretty far in the game. I have no idea how I'm going to get my last 2 Sages upgraded.
Gotta get them islands, man.
Bro, I've been to all the islands.
Man.
There's some that aren't on islands. I don't know where they are. I'm hoping they're in caves because I'm trying to clear out caves right now.
Maybe they're quest rewards.
Maybe.
I don't know.
All right. Well, I mean, I tried to still go island to island. Like, I tried to keep the sequence this time. I felt like when I did the Rito challenge, I just air ballooned my way past a bunch of it, and then I ended up having to go back to fight a flux construct over there, which was annoying. So this time I tried to actually follow the whole path so I didn't miss anything big. Some places the bubbles were useful. Some places I just was not having it, and I just decided to bike around instead. So I don't know. I took it step by step. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Was it around here, or was it a little farther in that I liked one of the puzzles you had to use? You You had to use like blocks to make a ramp to deflect the bubble up so that you could then swim out and get to the higher platform. Instead of it just having one that was perfectly lined up to just take you, you had to actually build a ramp in order to get up there by deflecting it. I thought that was neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember if that was here or if that was later. That reminds me of the temple, but I don't know if that's because that's where it was or not.
I don't think it was in the temple because I just did that earlier yesterday. I don't think it was in that, but it was sometime around here.
Gotcha.
And then eventually, through climbing our way up through the Wellspring Islands, we reach Sidon, who's waiting outside of a big place. And then he tells us that this is the water temple.
Yeah.
Or the palace from Super Smash Bros. Because that's what it looks like. Kind of.
Yeah, kind of. I don't know. There's not enough greenery up here.
No. Yeah, there's only like a little bit of greenery, and it's on the bottom of the shed.
But the architecture's pretty good. I mean, I know that palace from Smash Bros. Is supposed to be from The Adventure of Link, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there ain't no Sky Islands in that.
There are just islands in that one. But yeah, the water temple, the great wellspring of Hyrule.
Yeah, it's been there all this time.
It's got a big sludge catapult being launched off of it.
It's got a big old dirty waterfall falling from the sky that ain't nobody ever seen the water from until now. But hey, it's always been there.
Not only falling, but like launching, like shooting up in the air in a bunch of random directions, which is how our poor guard fellow down on the ground just got a bunch of down on top of him.
Oh, I think we're talking about different water features, but yes, that is also happening.
Oh.
Yeah, I think it was just, it all leads into one, right?
Yeah, so it's a big old, like half circle of islands. There, instead of 5 this time, one of our locking features to the temple, which we find when we first show up, they always want you to try to activate it once, and they show you what happens. It dumps out some water, but it doesn't dump out enough water. It only dumps out one of 5 things, because one of them is already kind of filling up for us, and we don't have to do anything for it. But the other 4, we got to get some water to. So instead of 5 switches, we only have 4 switches this time, which significantly reduces the length of the temple.
Yeah, it does.
Also, everything is in plain view, and you can just jump from island to island. There's no, like, secret way to get from one to the next. There's puzzle ways to do it, like ways where the developers put something in there to make it easier or more fun for you. But again, if you just got a bike or whatever, you can just kind of move around freely and hit all the switches.
Even just a rocket shield is enough to get you to, I think, any of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to highlight something that I thought was hilarious. So before we met, I kind of freshened up and I read like an IGN like quest guide of this water temple and thereafter the water temple boss. And I just could not help myself from laughing, crying. They said the temple itself is pretty small, but the puzzles can be real brain scratchers and confusing to get to. And to top that all off, the boss is absolutely no joke. And I could not help myself but start just absolutely laughing.
The boss is actually specifically a joke.
Specifically.
And not a joke as in he's that easy to fight, but a joke in that he's actually very funny.
Yeah.
But I think that we're getting ahead of the game a little bit by talking about him.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to bring that up. We don't have to talk about him, but like the fact that they said that the puzzles can be real brain scratchers and confusing to get to just like sent me rolling because I'm like, bro, you literally just need a motorcycle. Like, did you guys not know you can just rocket shield or a motorcycle around these islands to get to them? And then to top that all off, like, I don't think the puzzles in any way were hard. They were fun. There was actually 2 I thought were pretty fun.
There was one area where you had to go inside, like a cave kind of thing to get to one of the switches.
Yeah, underneath the main zone.
Yeah, and in order to get Sidon in, you had to turn off some flamethrowers, which I think you had to use like a bunch of floating blocks to traverse a room, a bunch of float stones. to turn off the flamethrower, and then Sidon could come in the room to activate the switch with his water power. That was probably the hardest one of all of them.
Oh, that's not how I did it. I took one of the bubbles from up top and brought the bubble with me all the way down to it, and then just put the bubble in front of the flames and walked right in the front door and turned it off from the switch right next to it.
There you go.
Easy.
I didn't need Sidon's help for none of this except for turning the thing, which is also the hardest puzzle in this entire thing, in my opinion. It took me about 10 to 15 minutes to realize I had to use Sidon's ability to activate the thing. And then I felt really stupid because in every other dungeon we've done so far, you had to use the ability of the person with you to activate the thing. So I don't know why I couldn't think of that for the longest time.
I don't know.
I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I think that room, because the flamethrower was on, like I didn't even realize that Sidon didn't come into the room with me. And so I was standing there and I saw this thing in front of me and I was like, well, it needs water, right? So I like threw a splash fruit at it. Nothing.
Oh no.
Using like an opal arrow, nothing. Like I was like, what is going on? And I was like, oh, where's Sidon? Like, go figure out how to get him inside the room. But yeah, that I definitely did the same thing the first time I saw one of these switches. I was like, I got this. I don't need my best friend. Like I got all kinds of water on me right now.
Oh goodness.
No. You need that Berkley water.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. Can't do none of that fluoride. Yeah, I got to this point. I was like playing the game. I'm in my living room and I was in between like making lunch when this was happening. And I remember I got to the water temple and I like finished making my lunch and then I took my Switch into a toilet sesh and finished the entire temple before I left. It must have been not more than 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. It was so short.
It is.
I don't know.
Once you get to the actual temple, it can be very short.
I seem to remember someone taking a long time in bathrooms.
Yo.
No, it was like, it couldn't have been more than 10, 15 that I actually did this.
It took me
The
about
puzzle that took
30
me-
to 40, but that's because I didn't use any means to get around to the different islands. I actually wanted to do it the way they intended and not just build a motorcycle or use a rocket shield. So I had to figure out how to get up so high so that I could jump and glide to an island that was also almost as high and climb up it and kind of go that way, my way up.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they made these like fully accessible by my little motorbike, man.
Oh, yeah. No, they definitely did.
I was taking no chances, no prisoners.
But yeah, there's not really any difficult puzzles waiting here. There was the one with the floating stones. You got to go down over a pit of spikes and pick up a ball and then bring it up with all the platforms. I just stuck it to a platform and then moved it with me every time I jumped to another one and brought it all the way. And then you got to kind of keep it attached to that to stick it in the hole so it actually stays there. Use the platform to kind of hold it in place. Mm-hmm. There's the one where you got to open up a gate, drain some water, and then keep the gate open with your rewind ability and then go down and activate it while it's still, the door is still open and you can still walk there because you're not swimming because there's a ton of water. My favorite one was the one where you had to finish building the turn wheel.
Yeah.
Where it's not so easy that you can just put them wherever you want. I think they might have to be exactly on opposite sides. And so if you try to build it, well, no, actually, I guess I could have done this differently. But I put one on and then I tried to do another one with it. Not just, I don't know why I didn't think to just put one on the top when it was at the bottom. But I held it to the side for a second, used the rewind ability to hold it there so I could put it on the leftmost side, and then spin away.
Yeah.
Spin away.
And then the weirdest puzzle, I think, was the really fast spinning rock.
I like that one.
It just felt weird.
Yeah.
Like with how fast that rock was.
The reason I liked it is because it was just a show off of like the bullet time thing. So all you had to do was get some air, however you wanted to get it, and then go into slow-mo and the rock would slow down and you could just shoot it. It was pretty easy, but you know, I enjoyed just hitting the spinning rock.
I had to time my water fruit good because there was stuff up in it.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, there was like barely any threat in this dungeon either. There was like, I think, one group of enemies on the sort of big pond island.
Yeah, the constructs were lacking for sure.
Yeah. I only remember one group of enemies.
There was 2. I think this
Oh,
whole
okay.
dungeon had somewhere around 7 to 8 constructs and like 2 chews.
There was chews up there?
Yeah, there were chews up there.
All the constructs were around bodies of water. If you just knocked them into the water, that's it. Game over.
Yeah.
Dunzo.
And I think I covered all the puzzles
Yeah. So
already.
once we knock those 4 out, we can go activate our wonderful switch, get all the water to move, or at least that's what we think is going to happen until somebody comes and ruins all the clean water. And this is the Scourge of the Water Temple, the Muktarok. The Muktarok looks real weird at first.
I'm not gonna lie. It literally looks like a octopus fetus. I'm sorry, but that's what it looks like to me. Yeah, it's real gross looking.
Probably what the design was based on.
It's a slimy Octorok.
His eyes are like he has this built-in rage upon him that like can only be quelled with killing Link. Like his eyes are like Sith eyes from Star Wars.
He's got malice eyes, man. He's got like the eyes from Breath of the Wild, just straight up jammed in his little cranium there. He has 2 very human-esque hands, which is kind of upsetting. His legs kind of look like chicken drumsticks. And everything about this design is bad. But he's basically, he acts like a living balloon, like a deflated balloon. He just kind of like, I don't even know the good word for it, flops around when he walks. And it's real bad to look at. But this isn't like his normal form while he's attacking you, which is really weird. Like
he creates like a shark out of slime that has like this purple light around in it, like the light that represents that it's alive or something. And that's what he attacks you with.
Yeah, so he's a muck bender who creates this shark form for himself to attack you. Usually it involves like direct charges. And the way to get through to this guy is to join the cleaning crew. So, if you got hydrants, now's the time to pull them out. This is like the most important time to use them. I feel like hydrants tend to go unused in my inventory for the most part, unless there's lava or a Muktarok. Splash roots are good. Anything water-based is pretty good against this guy.
Sidon's ability is good.
Sidon's ability is the point. That's the whole point of this fight.
Yeah, because if you use any other source, it takes at least 2 hits to knock him out of this shark form. But with Sidon's blast, it's immediate.
Yeah. So this guy's whole deal is I'm going to keep this place dirty, and your whole deal's got to be I'm going to get you out of that dirty stuff. Because when you take away the shark form with water, which apparently is a thing, at first he just becomes useless immediately, and you get a bunch of cool free hits until the second phase, where even when you get him out of the shark form, he starts leaping from mud puddle to mud puddle in such a way that he becomes one of the most frustrating bosses in the game.
Yeah, he did. He looks like a fish out of water, flopping desperately from pool of to pool of, and it's annoying. It's very
really fun
annoying.
fight.
Yeah, it's upsetting. it ends up being a fun fight. I mean, I think what's funny is when he's useless, like when he's been knocked out of the water enough, like the music even changes to like Tinker Toy music as he walks around just freaking out because he's not in his muck. And he just looks like a deflated balloon trying to walk. And it's great. Like this is the joke part of the fight. It's like IGN said 100%. No joke. We disagree wholeheartedly. This is a joke.
People don't realize. IGN don't realize.
10 out of 10. Just enough water.
Just enough water.
It really feels like you're fighting an octopus.
Yeah.
With an unlimited ink sac.
Yeah, so you got to use your unlimited water. I think people have made all kinds of contraptions just to spray water everywhere as much as they can when fighting this guy.
Yeah, I actually mid-fight constructed like 2 hydrants on a pole that I just found in my inventory, and sort of just like walked across the arena with this, and just kind of like did like a like 360 like helicopter like
nice,
and it worked pretty well to took like 5 to 10 seconds of doing that, and his sludge was definitely knocked down, and it made it a lot easier when he was in the final form.
Yeah.
I forgot to use hydrants entirely and
Oh,
went through
no.
almost my entire stock of water fruits. Yeah, I had like 30 when I went into this temple. I walked out with like 5 after the final boss.
You could also use, I know opals.
I ain't wasting my opals.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was like, I know opals have a huge attack explosion of water.
I ain't
And I
wasting
think
my
the
opals, man.
king's scales also have water, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Mm,
You can use all 4 of them.
yeah. I wonder if I can sell them. Go over to the Gerudo homeland and be like, I got scales off of the Zora king. Who knows what you could do with these?
My guess is that they're just not valuable. They'd be like, yeah, the Zora King gives these out to everybody who asks, like 5 at a time.
Oh, no.
Like, he just sheds, man.
It's not even
He just gets out his back scratcher, hands him like 30. All right, go away.
They used to be real precious until he gave them to person number 2. It was a big deal back in the day. Turns out he just has dandruff.
Oh, no.
Nobody knew.
Oh, geez. He's got a skin condition. Scales just keep falling out.
My dude is exfoliating all the time, bro. Kind of gross, actually. Can you put those away?
They got a good cleaning crew up in Zora's place because I don't see any of them scales anywhere. They're on top of that.
Pretty much.
But we beat the Mukto Rock and Secret Stone.
Yeah, this would be the time where we say, hey, by the way, this whole run up, Sidon's been getting called to by mysterious voices. The mysterious voice turns out to be an ancient Zora sage who wears a mask and tells a story about the imprisoning war
Right?
and the secret stones.
No.
The Demon King.
And Zelda asking after the imprisoning wars for her to help Link when he comes around in a long time.
Yeah. So he too knows the song of ancient times that all the other sages have sung to us so far. I really wish they gave unique cutscenes. It would make these stories way more satisfying. But they're not. It's just another set of faces saying the same dialogue.
Pretty much.
But you know what is interesting is the stone that Mr. Prince Sidon gets is the blue secret stone.
Naruto time?
And yeah, man, it's that chakra.
Yeah, buddy.
So he's got the blue chakra for ninjas. And basically, like what Ryan was saying this entire time, the throat chakra is basically your body's communication hub. It speaks truth, it finds your voice, and it sings praises for yourself and others. It's a lot like coincided with singing and things like that. And I kind of thought about when I was like reading this stuff, I thought of like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, but then I was like, nah, that's the last game. This ain't about that. So when the throat chakra is blocked, you may have issues with creativity and communication, and you may have hearing difficulties in hearing others' wishes for you in your best interests. So it's like when you may think something's right, or you may feel like you want to change, which you can't, and other people are telling you to change, you just don't hear them. And that's basically what Sidon's been experiencing this entire time. He's never communicated his issues with Mipha or his fears, and he's having trouble speaking his mind, and he just can't, do anything about that. And so,
that's
yeah.
where Yona steps in.
Slaps him up.
She's the real chakra stone.
She
unblocked his chakra.
Oh gosh, what's the NA gonna stand for? You only know arowana. Something. I don't know.
Niagara Falls.
Niagara Falls.
You own no arowanas. But yeah, so far, with the chakra stones, the secret stones that we've been getting, the stones have all aligned with the situation that has been going on in the domain. This one, both of the other stones had more of a connection with the people as a whole. I couldn't really find, like, this literally just connects with Sidon. I mean, like, maybe you could kind of, like, say it connects with the other Zoras in the sense that, like, they're just, like, I don't know, like, bad at communication.
They're kind of like out on their own. Like, you'd think that they don't know Link is coming, and they don't seem to be getting anywhere with fixing this gunk issue before Link gets there. But they don't really go out and find anybody and ask for help. So it's almost like the entire species as a whole isn't communicating with the people around them, like the Hylians or the Kakarikoans or the people in Hatino. Like, they don't go and look for any help, and they're just kind of suffering by themselves trying to figure it out. And the only one really doing anything is Mr. Brita Filter. So I guess you could say that the whole as a people is just kind of suffering in silence and not asking for help.
Yeah, you can say that. That actually makes a lot of sense. And I'll just leave it off with this last statement because I thought it was the most true statement with Sidon's realization. And I think there's more for the story to drop after this when he gets back with Yona. But basically, when in alignment of your chakra, which is about when he realized, you feel confident when you speak because you know you are being true to yourself with your words and you're hearing your own words and your self-worth. I was like, dang, that's literally what Sidon was just dealing with.
Yeah. I mean, from back in the, well, I mean, I could reference Ocarina of Time and talk about how, like, the princess went missing and how they didn't really tell anybody about that either. They were like, yeah, this is a Zora issue. We'll figure it out. We got everybody going everywhere. But no, I mean, just there's communication themes throughout this a little bit. Or, like, part of figuring out the riddle in the first place to go find the scales and do all that. Like, you have to, like, clean off a broken rock and fix it. And then even then, it's a riddle. It's not just plainly stated what needs to happen. So you got to decipher that by going around trying to talk to everybody again. And then when you do finally find the king, he's hiding away in a cave contemplating if he should still be king or not, which is something that I'm guessing he's never communicated to anybody until now. So there's just a lot of people with, like, random hangups. Like, even the kids who know where the king is, they're like, oh, we don't want to play with you or talk to you. You have to eavesdrop on them in order to get the information. So yeah, there's a lot of communication breakdowns. Not that Link is a great communicator. Tends to have issues, but maybe, you know, he had something to learn here too. But yeah, whole bunch of little things like that, I guess. But yeah, Sidon especially was just the highlight. That conversation between him and Yona was, like, exactly what they were trying to get across.
It's really interesting so far that, like, the Secret Stone's colors have been based off of the chakras and, like, they've been basing off the story domain issues around these. So it's, like, cool writing, and I can't wait to see what the Gerudo is about.
Yeah, me too. But so Sidon gives us our new ring, because they all got to give us a ring to commemorate the occasion with our new spirit power in it.
Yeah.
And
now
then
we got 3 of them dudes.
We do. And then we run to well, I got 4. Then we run out and the new game begins of Sidon's bizarre monarchy because he's the king now.
Yeah. He gets kinged basically by his dad. And he, you know, they're planning on their fishy wedding still, so, you know, they're reunited and everything. That's pretty great. There's much rejoicing, and the water's clean again. Huzzah! We saved the Zora.
Huzzah!
One of the best stories and just overall, like, character interactions of the game so far, and the temple just doo-dooed on that entire experience. Like, it was so awesome until you get to, like, the temple and you're like, wait, this is, like, it?
Yeah, I mean, that's really if anything I can say for it is that the disappointment was in its length, not in its content. Like, I think that it was fun. It just didn't last as long as you wanted the fun to last. Like when I got done with those 4, I was like, I got a 5th in me. Where's my 5th?
I can keep going though.
Two more puzzles. Come on.
And like even the length of like the distance from the top of the mountain in Hebra to the wind ship or whatever that was called was, I felt like, pretty lengthy compared to the Wellspring Island length. And I know you had like the reservoir waterworks under that, and there was like some story before that too, so it felt like it was longer, but I don't know. I hope for more, man. I love the Zora.
I was just hoping for an even more complicated, difficult, brain-teasing water temple, kind of like hearkening back to Ocarina of Time, the one that a lot of people really didn't have a great time with because it's really confusing.
It took decades for the fandom to turn around on how they felt about the water temple. I do not think Nintendo wanted to repeat that.
No, I mean, not to that degree. I wasn't saying to make like the next most hated dungeon of all time, but it could have been a little more complicated and had a few more puzzles in there. I definitely think. Granted, it was fun for what it was.
Yeah, I hear that. Cool. So is there anything else that we need to wrap up? I don't think I ever went back and got the Rudo helmet. Oh, wait, I lied. Yes, I did. Basically, if you want anything further, I mean, you can talk to Sidon. He'll tell you about the mask. That's usually how that goes. You go back and you talk to the sage in person, and they'll tell you about a cool mask that they heard of or something and where to find it. Or they'll just tell you about a cool location, and that's your hint. You go there. If you want the rest of the Zora armor, talk to Yona. She got you started. She'll kind of give you the directions you need for the other pieces. One of which you have to go through her attendants to get. Like, she doesn't have the information herself, but she'll tell you who to talk to, and it ends up working out that way.
You can also talk to the blacksmith for the champion spear, I think it's called.
I think if you didn't...
The light scale trident.
Oh, yeah.
And if you didn't happen to have an ancient arowana, I think you also go talk to the blacksmith in order to get an idea of where to get one if you don't know where to get one.
Oh, he drops that?
She says it. She's like, if you don't have one or you need to know where to go, I hear you might want to talk to the blacksmith or something like that. But then she immediately went, oh, you have one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, though. All right, cool. So I'm going to put a bow on this one if we're good.
Yeah.
So thank you all for listening to A for No, B for Yes. This has been our Zora episode. Next week, we'll be back on the side mission track. I think we have a few other locations that we really want to hit before we finish out this set of phenomena. Thank you so much for listening. Next episode will come out in a few weeks from now. We'll catch you then. Peace out.
Oi. Have a good party. Well, did you get all that?